The city was broken, the walls cracked, the streets empty, smoke still rising from old battles. The human walked carefully, his boots crunching on glass and ash. He had been traveling for days, searching for supplies, searching for survivors. But this city was different. It was too quiet, too heavy, like the air itself carried secrets. Among the ruins, he heard a sound, not loud, just a faint noise, like a whisper or a weak breath. He stopped, listening, his hand on the handle of his weapon. The sound came again, from a dark corner near a pile of broken metal. He slowly moved closer, his eyes scanning, ready for danger, and then he saw her. She was small, thin, her body curled up against the wall, covered in dirt, her skin marked with old wounds, her hair tangled like dry grass. She looked less like a person and more like a shadow left behind. When she noticed him, she flinched, her eyes wide. She pulled herself back against the wall as if he were about to strike her. Her lips moved, and she whispered words in a broken voice. "Don't touch me. I am too dirty." The human froze, his heart beating harder. He had heard stories of slaves abandoned by their masters, of creatures cast away as worthless, but to see it in front of him was different. It was real. It was cruel. Around the corner, a group of alien traders passed by. They saw him standing near the girl and laughed. One of them shouted, "Don't waste your time, human. She is filth. Even her own kind will not touch her. Better to leave her to rot." Their laughter echoed down the broken street, and then they were gone, but their words hung heavy in the air. The girl lowered her head, shame burning in her eyes. The human stepped closer, slowly, carefully, not reaching for his weapon this time, but lowering it, showing her his empty hand. He spoke softly. "I will not hurt you." She shook her head, trembling. "I don't understand. No one is allowed near me. They call me cursed. They call me unclean." Her voice cracked like a glass breaking. He looked at her, at the bruises, the dirt, the fear in her face, and something inside him tightened. It was anger at those who had treated her this way, and it was pity because she had been abandoned with nothing, not even dignity. For a long moment, they just stared at each other, the ruins around them silent, the city watching like a graveyard. He thought of leaving. It would be safer, easier, but something kept him still. He remembered the laughter of the aliens, the cruelty in their voices, and he knew if he walked away, she would die here, alone, believing she was worthless. So he knelt down, bringing himself lower, his voice calm, steady. "You are not dirty to me," he said. "You are alive, and that is enough." Her eyes widened as if no one had ever spoken such words to her. She shook her head again, whispering, "You don't know what I am." "Then tell me," he replied, his voice gentle but firm. She hesitated, her lips parting, but no words came. Instead, tears formed in her eyes, rolling down through the dust on her cheeks, leaving pale lines across the dirt. The human did not push her. Instead, he extended his hand, not forcefully, not quickly, but slowly, a silent offering. She stared at it, fear and disbelief fighting inside her. Her body shook, every part of her waiting for a trick, waiting for pain, waiting for what always came when someone reached for her. But his hand stayed steady, warm, patient. Minutes passed, the ruined city silent, only the faint wind moving the ashes. Finally, with a trembling hand, she lifted her fingers, weak and thin, and touched his palm. It was the smallest gesture, but it felt like a mountain breaking. The human closed his hand gently around hers, not gripping hard, just enough to tell her she was safe. In that moment, something shifted, the world around them still broken, but inside the silence, a fragile connection was born. The girl's breath caught. She whispered again, almost to herself. Why are you touching me? No one ever." But her voice faded into a sob. He leaned closer, speaking softly. "Because they were wrong." For the first time in years, someone had not turned away from her. Someone had not called her filth or cursed. Instead, a human had taken her hand. The city remained ruined. The night grew darker, but a spark of hope flickered in her chest. A hope she did not believe she was allowed to feel. And for the human, standing in the ashes of war, he did not yet know what she carried. He did not yet know the truth hidden beneath her scars and dirt, but he knew one thing. He would not abandon her. As he pulled her gently to her feet, her legs weak, her body shaking, the ruins around them seemed to watch, as if history itself was holding its breath. The girl who was too dirty to touch had been touched, and the story of both their lives had just changed. The night was long, the city still burning in silence, and the human carried the girl through the broken streets. She was light in his arms, lighter than she should have been, as if hunger and fear had taken half her life already. She did not resist, but she did not trust either. Her eyes flickered open sometimes, staring at him, then closing again, as if she expected him to throw her aside at any moment. He walked until he reached the small shelter he had made inside the wreck of an old building. He had been living here during his search. It was not much, just 4 walls still standing, a fire pit, and a small tank of water he had stored. When he set her down on a blanket, she pulled her ease to her chest, hiding her face, her body shaking from cold and fear. He could see how the dirt clung to her skin, thick and old, how her hair was so tangled that it almost looked like rope. He spoke softly, his voice calm. "You need food, you need rest, but first, you need to be clean." At his words, her head shot up, her eyes wide with fear. "No," she whispered. Don't wash me. Don't look at me. You don't understand. If you see, you will leave me too." The human crouched in front of her, shaking his head. "I will not leave. Whatever they told you, I don't believe it." She pressed her hands over her face, her nails broken, her fingers trembling. "You say that now, but when you see what I am, you will turn away." He did not argue. Instead, he lit a small lamp, the glow filling the shelter with a softer light. Then he pulled the water tank closer, warmed it with the fire, and placed a cloth beside it, his movements calm and steady, not forcing her, but showing her that he meant what he said. For a long time she did not move, her fear fighting against her need, but finally, as if her body could no longer carry the weight of dirt and pain, she allowed him to guide her closer to the tank. The human dipped the cloth into the warm water, wrung it out, and touched it gently to her arm. She flinched hard, gasping, as if his touch burned, but when she felt no pain, only warmth, her breathing slowed. Slowly, carefully, he wiped away the dirt, layer by layer, the brown and black smears fading to reveal pale skin beneath. Her eyes filled with tears, not from the water, but from the feeling. The strange and unfamiliar kindness. No one had touched her like this in years. No one had cared. He worked in silence. The only sound was the crackle of fire and the soft drip of water. With each stroke, more of her true self appeared. Not the creature covered in filth, but a girl with features hidden under shame. When he reached her face, she tried to turn away, but he held her gently, wiping carefully, the dirt lifting to reveal skin that almost glowed in the lamplight. Beneath the dust, faint lines appeared, markings, strange symbols that curled like threads of silver across her cheek. The human paused, his hand still, staring at the markings. They were not scars, they were something else, something alive, faintly glowing, as if the water had awakened them. She noticed his silence. Panic filled her eyes. "I told you, now you will see. Now you will know why they called me cursed." Her voice cracked, shaking, but instead of pulling away, he dipped the cloth again, continuing, his voice calm. "These are not curses, they are beautiful." Her breath caught. She stared at him, confused. No one had ever said such words. No one had ever dared. He kept going, cleaning her arms, her shoulders, her hair, washing away years of neglect, and as he worked, more of the strange markings appeared, running across her skin, glowing faintly blue and silver, forming patterns like stars and rivers. She wept quietly, not from shame anymore, but from disbelief, from the breaking of chains inside her heart. When her hair was finally untangled and clean, it fell down her back like dark silk. When her face was free of dirt, her true features showed, delicate, sharp, almost royal. The human sat back, breathing out slowly. She was not what he expected, not at all. Beneath the dirt had been hidden something rare, something her own people had feared, maybe even hated. She hugged her knees again, hiding her face, whispering, "Now you know, now you will send me away." But he only shook his head, leaning closer. "No, now I know they were afraid of you, not because you are dirty, but because you are more than they could control." She lifted her head, eyes wide, tears shining. "You don't mean that. No, one has ever meant that." "I do," he said simply, his voice steady like stone. For the first time, she did not argue. She only stared at him, the firelight reflecting in her eyes, and for a brief moment, hope flickered there, weak but alive. He handed her a small cup of water, and she took it with trembling hands, sipping slowly, as if the taste of clean water was the rarest gift in the world. The night grew deeper, the fire burned low, but inside the ruined shelter, something new was born. The girl who had been called too dirty to touch was clean, and for the first time she began to believe that maybe, just maybe, she was not cursed after all. And the human, watching her, felt a weight in his chest. He had started with pity, but now he felt something more dangerous, something stronger, the beginning of a bond that neither dirt nor cruelty could erase. The morning came slow, pale light slipping through cracks in the broken walls. The human was already awake, tending the fire, checking his supplies, while the girl sat quietly on the blanket, her eyes lowered, her arms wrapped around her knees. She looked different now, no longer hidden under layers of dirt. her skin clear, her hair clean, the strange glowing markings faint but still visible in the morning light. She looked almost like a different person, but inside, she still carried the same fear. The human placed a small piece of bread and dried fruit near her. "Eat," he said gently. "Your body needs strength." She glanced at the food, then at him, suspicion still living in her eyes. "Why do you give this to me?" she asked. "You don't even know what I am." He sat down across from her, calm. "I don't need to know everything. I know you are alive, and that is enough reason." She touched the bread with trembling fingers, as if it might vanish, then slowly ate, every bite careful, her eyes watering as if shun. He had not eaten in days, maybe weeks. When she finished, she wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, then lowered her head again, silence filling the room, the fire crackling softly. The human watched her for a long time, then asked, "What do they call you?" Her body stiffened, her fingers clenching tightly. "They call me nothing," she whispered. "Or worse, they call me dirty, cursed, unclean, not worth touching." His jaw tightened, anger flashing in his chest. He hated those words, the cruelty behind them. "That is not a name," he said firmly. "That is poison." She looked up, confused. "What else can I be called?" "You need a name," he said, his voice steady. "Everyone needs a name. It is the first gift, the first proof that you belong somewhere." Her lips trembled. "But I don't belong anywhere." He leaned forward, his eyes locked on hers. "Then you will belong with me, and I will give you a name." Her breath caught, her whole body frozen. No one had ever said such words to her. No one had ever thought she deserved something so simple and so powerful. "What name?" she whispered, her voice shaking like the first leaf in a storm. He thought for a moment, his mind searching, and then he smiled slightly. "I will call you Lyra." She blinked, surprised, the word rolling in her mind like something soft, something warm. "Lyra," she repeated slowly, tasting the sound, her voice trembling. "What does it mean?" "In my language," he explained, "it means song. It means something that rises even in silence, something that cannot be broken." Her eyes filled with tears, her chest rising and falling as if the name itself was too heavy and too light at the same time. "Song," she whispered, "but I cannot sing." "You don't have to," he said softly. "You are the song." The tears spilled down her cheeks. She covered her face, sobbing quietly, the sound painful but also full of release. "No one has ever given me a name," she said between sobs. "They took everything. Even that. I thought I was nothing. I thought I was only what they called me." The human moved closer, not touching her yet, but sitting near, his voice steady. "They lied to you, Lyra. You are not nothing. You are someone, and now you will never be nameless again." She dropped her hands, her tear-streaked face turned toward him, her lips trembling. "Lyra," she whispered again, holding the name like a treasure. "I am Lyra." For the first time she smiled, small, fragile, but real, and the human felt a warmth spread through him, as if the ruined world outside had cracked enough to let light inside. But hope is dangerous, and in the shadows of the broken city, others were already whispering, word spreading fast. The human had taken the untouchable, the cursed girl, into his shelter. At the market ruins, alien traders spoke in low voices. "He washed her, he feeds her, he even named her." They spat in disgust. "He does not understand. She will bring ruin." Some laughed, others grew angry. "We should take her back. We should remind him that she does not belong to him, or to anyone." Back in the shelter, unaware of the growing whispers, the human watched as Lyra traced the markings on her skin with her fingers, her eyes distant. "These lines," she said softly, "they always scared me. I thought they were proof I was cursed." "They are proof you are different," he said, "and difference is not shame." She looked at him, her new name still glowing in her mind, and for the first time she did not feel like a shadow, she felt like a person. That night, as the fire burned low, she whispered her name again before sleep. Lyra. The sound soft but strong, and the human knew the name had become her shield. But outside, the city was restless, and the hunters were moving. The girl who was once too dirty to touch now had a name, and that name would soon draw danger to them both. The name had changed everything. The girl who was once silent now whispered her name each morning, holding it close like fire in the dark. She was no longer nothing. She was Lyra. The human saw the difference, her eyes brighter, her shoulders a little straighter, but he also saw the danger growing outside. The ruined city was alive with whispers. Every market corner, every crumbling street, voices spread the same story. The human had taken the untouchable. The human had touched the cursed. By evening, the whispers became footsteps, shadows gathering, the air heavy with coming trouble. The human packed quickly, giving Lyra a small satchel. "We can't stay here," he said firmly. "They will come for you." Her hands shook, fear returning. "I told you they will never let me go. They will hunt us both." "Then let them try," he replied, his voice steady. "I will not give you back." They slipped out under cover of night, moving through broken alleys, stepping over rubble, the firelight of the city shrinking behind them, but the sound of pursuit already rose. Shouts carried on the wind, heavy boots on stone. Lyra clung to his arm, her breath short. Why do they want me so much if I am only cursed?" "Because," he said without slowing, "they fear you, and fear always hunts what it cannot control." They reached the edge of the old transit tunnels, broken rails stretching into the dark. He led her down the cracked stairs, the echo of their steps swallowed by the underground. Behind them, voices grew louder, lights flickered in the distance. The hunters were close. The tunnel was damp, the smell of rust and water thick in the air. Lyra stumbled, but the human caught her, pulling her forward. "Stay close," he whispered. "Don't stop." Suddenly a shout rang out. Beams of light cut through the dark. Shadows of alien figures filled the tunnel mouth. "There, the human hat. It's her!" one voice barked. Arrows of energy flashed, striking the walls, sparks flying. The human pushed Lyra against the side, shielding her with his body. He drew his weapon, firing back into the dark, the tunnel filled with echoing blasts. "Run!" he commanded, pulling her hand. They sprinted down the tunnel, the chase now fully alive, footsteps pounding, weapons firing. Lyra's heart pounded, fear choking her. But as they ran, something strange happened. The markings on her skin began to glow faintly, soft blue light spreading like veins of fire. She gasped, "No, not now." The human glanced back, seeing the glow, his eyes narrowing. "What is happening to you?" "I don't know," she cried. "This always happens when they come close. When I am afraid, the markings wake." The hunters saw the light too, and their voices turned sharper. "She glows. Keep her alive. She is the key." The human pulled her faster, every word from the hunters adding weight to his suspicion. She was not cursed, she was important, and that importance made her dangerous to them. They reached a broken section of tunnel where water flooded the ground. The human leapt across the stones, pulling Lyra with him, blasts of energy splashing into the water behind them. Lyra stumbled again, nearly falling, but he caught her, lifting her in his arms without slowing. She clung to him, shaking, her glowing markings lighting the tunnel around them, turning the dark into a river of blue. The hunters shouted louder, their steps echoing like thunder, but the light of her markings blinded them, casting long shadows on the walls. Finally, the tunnel split into two. The human chose the darker path, leading them into silence again, the noise of pursuit fading for a moment, only their heavy breathing left. He set her down carefully, his chest rising fast, sweat on his brow. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head, though her voice trembled. "No, but they will never stop. They want me back. They will take me and kill you." He gripped her shoulders firmly, his voice sharp. "Listen to me, Lyra. They will not take you. Do you understand? You are not their property. You are not cursed. You are mine to protect." Her eyes widened, her tears falling again. Why would you risk everything for me?" "Because you are worth it," he answered simply, his voice like stone. In the distance, the hunters regrouped, their voices echoing again. The chase was not over. The human lifted his weapon, preparing, his body tense. He glanced at Lyra's glowing skin. "You may think this glow is your curse, but I think it is your power, and maybe it is the only reason they fear you." She shook her head, terrified. "If it is power, then I don't want it." He looked at her, his eyes steady. "Then we will decide together how to use it." The tunnel shook with the sound of marching, lights cutting through the dark once more, the hunters closing in. Lyra pressed against the wall, whispering her name to herself like a prayer. "Lyra, I am Lyra," holding the gift of her name close as fear pressed in. The human raised his weapon, ready for the next wave, his voice steady even in the storm. "Stay behind me, and no matter what happens, don't let go of who you are." The hunters rushed forward, the chase roaring to life again, and in that moment, the girl once abandoned as too dirty to touch was no longer hiding in silence. She was glowing, her name burning bright in the dark. The tunnels echoed with fading footsteps. The hunters had lost their trail for now. The human led Lyra deeper into the ruins, where silence swallowed every sound. She was trembling, her glowing markings fading slowly, the light sinking back into her skin until only faint lines remained. She pressed her arms close to her body, ashamed, whispering, "You saw it again. You saw what I am." The human stopped, turning to her, his eyes steady. "I saw you, Lyra. Not a curse, not filth, just you." She shook her head, tears sliding down her cheeks. "You don't understand. No one does. My people threw me away because of this, because of what is inside me. Then tell me, he said firmly, his voice low but calm. Tell me the truth so I can understand. For a long moment she said nothing, her breath shaking, her eyes distant, but at last she began, her voice fragile like glass. When I was a child, the markings began to appear, faint at first, then brighter. The elders grew afraid. They said the glow was dangerous, that it would bring ruin. They called me cursed. They locked me away. No one touched me. No one spoke my name. Her hands tightened into fists, her nails digging into her skin. They used me for their experiments. They drained my strength. They tried to control the glow, but it only grew stronger. And when they could not control it, they abandoned me. They told the others I was too dirty to touch, so no one would dare come near. The human's jaw clenched, anger burning inside him. He could see the scars of her story in her trembling, in her broken trust, in the way she flinched at kindness. They lied to you, he said sharply. They wanted to hide what they could not own. They feared your power, so they buried you in shame. Her eyes widened, her lips trembling. Power, you think this glow is power, but I feel nothing but fear. Every time it shines, they come. Every time it wakes, I lose everything. The human stepped closer, placing his hand gently on her shoulder. Fear is what they gave you, not what you are, Lyra. They feared what you could become, and that is why they broke you. She closed her eyes, more tears falling, his words heavy and strange in her heart. No one had ever spoken of her glow as anything but filth. Listen, he continued, his voice steady as stone. I have seen many things. In war, I have seen weapons and monsters, but your glow is not like them. It is alive. It is not a curse. It is a gift. Her breath caught, her eyes snapping open. A gift, she whispered, shaking her head. No, gifts are precious, and I am not. You are, he said firmly. Your name is Lyra. Your life is your own, and this glow is part of you, not a chain. She stared at him, his words pressing into her like light through cracks. She wanted to believe, but the weight of years pressed back. If it is a gift, why does it hurt everyone around me? He shook his head. It is not you that hurts them. It is their fear, their cruelty. They hurt themselves by refusing to see you, but I see you, and I will not turn away. The silence stretched, the tunnel cold around them, but inside her chest, something small and fragile began to stir. Her hand lifted, trembling, tracing the markings on her arm, faint light following her touch. For the first time, she did not recoil from it. She did not call it filth. She simply looked at it. I don't know if I can believe you, she whispered, but when you speak, I want to. That is enough for now, he said gently. Belief takes time, and we have that as long as we keep moving. They continued down the tunnel, the dim light guiding them forward, but danger still lingered behind. At one point, they found a broken chamber where old machines rusted in silence. Lyra paused, her eyes locking on strange symbols carved into the walls, symbols that matched the ones glowing on her skin. Her breath caught. These markings, they are the same, this place. It was built by my people long ago. The human looked closer, realizing the truth. Then this glow is not random. It is part of something bigger. Your people feared it because they forgot what it meant. Lyra touched the wall, the symbols responding to her touch. Faint blue light running through the stone, waking the chamber after years of silence. She stumbled back, terrified. You see, this is why they ate me. This is why they call me cursed, because the old power follows me, because the past will not let me go. But the human shook his head, watching the light spread. No, Lyra, this is proof not of a curse, but of your importance. You are not their shame. You are their key. Her tears returned, but this time they were different. Not only of pain, but of confusion, of hope, of something she had never allowed herself to feel. She whispered her name again, clutching it like a lifeline. Lyra, her voice soft but strong. I am Lyra. The human stood beside her, his hand steady on her shoulder, his eyes locked on the glowing walls. And that is why they will never have you again. Outside, in the broken streets above, the hunters were gathering once more, their anger growing, their orders clear. The girl who was once too dirty to touch had revealed her secret, and now the whole city would burn to claim her. The tunnels grew quieter as they walked, the echoes of hunters fading for a while. The human kept his weapon ready, every sense sharp, but beside him, Lyra walked differently now, her steps slower but less heavy, as if carrying her name and secret had given her new weight and new strength. She touched the faint glowing lines on her arm, watching them fade in and out like breathing light, her voice soft. All my life they told me this was filth, that it made me dirty, but when you say it is a gift, I almost believe you. The human glanced at her, his eyes steady. Belief takes time, but trust begins with small steps, and you have already taken them. Her lips curved in a shy, uncertain smile, small but true. I never thought I could trust anyone again, but you keep proving me wrong. They found another chamber, safer, with broken stone walls and space to rest. The human gathered scraps of wood, lighting a small fire, while Lyra sat close, warming her. Hands, the glow from her markings mixing with the flame. He handed her a blanket, rough but warm. She pulled it around her shoulders, her eyes fixed on him. Why? She asked suddenly. Why do you keep helping me? You could have left me in the street, like everyone else did. The human sat across from her, his face calm but his voice carrying weight. Because leaving you would have meant I was no better than them. Because when I saw you, I knew you deserved more than what they gave you. Her throat tightened, tears filling her eyes. No one has ever said I deserve anything, not food, not a bed, not even a name. You deserve all of it, he said firmly, and more. Her tears spilled, but she did not hide her face this time. Instead, she looked at him through them, the firelight shining in her eyes. Why does it hurt to hear that, and yet heal me at the same time? Because truth cuts through lies, he answered, and you have lived with lies for too long. Silence settled, but it was not heavy, it was warm, the kind of silence that holds peace instead of fear. Lyra's fingers played with the blanket, her voice timid. I don't know how to be close to anyone. They never let me. They never touched me. I don't even know what it means to sit beside someone and feel safe. The human shifted closer, not touching her yet, just sitting near, his presence strong, steady. It means you breathe easier. It means your heart slows instead of racing. It means you don't need to hide. She leaned slightly toward him, testing his words, and felt it. The strange calm she had never known. Her body relaxed for the first time in years. Her voice cracked. This is what safe feels like. Yes, he whispered, his eyes on her. This is safe. Her head rested against his shoulder, light as a feather. She flinched at first, then stayed, her body shaking from emotions she did not understand. The human did not move. He simply let her be, his warmth steady, his silence patient. After a while, she whispered, Why do you not fear me like the others? Because I see you, not a curse, he answered. I see Lyra. Her tears came again, but softer, freer. She smiled weakly through them. I never thought I would hear my name and feel joy, but when you say it, it feels real. The fire burned lower, the shadows deepened, but inside the chamber, something fragile had bloomed into something strong. Trust had become intimacy, not of possession, not of chains, but of choice. Lyra closed her eyes, her voice almost a sigh. I don't want this moment to end. It doesn't have to, he said. We carry moments with us, even when the world tries to steal them. But outside the chamber, the world was already stirring, the hunters regrouping, their anger sharper than before. Lyra lifted her head, sensing the danger, fear flickering back. They will come again. I can feel it. The human tightened his grip on his weapon, his face calm but firm. Then let them. We will face them together. She stared at him, her heart caught between fear and something new. Together, she repeated softly, testing the word like she had tested her name and finding strength in it. Her fingers brushed his hand, hesitant, trembling, but he did not pull away. Instead, he let her touch stay, small but powerful. For the first time, she did not feel untouchable. For the first time, her skin did not burn with shame when someone's warmth reached her. The firelight flickered, casting their shadows on the stone. Two figures side by side, no longer strangers, no longer broken in the same way they had been. Lyra whispered again before sleep. Thank you for not leaving me. The human answered softly, I never will. And as she drifted into rest, her head on his shoulder, her markings glowed faintly, not from fear this time, but from peace. Yet outside, in the ruins above, the hunters prepared their final strike, their voices cold, their weapons razor-sharp. Eddie, the bond that had grown between human and alien, would soon be tested by fire, and the world would decide if trust and intimacy could survive the storm. The night outside was restless. The hunters gathered like wolves, their lights flashing across the ruined city, their voices sharp with orders. Find the girl, find the human, bring them back alive. Inside the chamber, the fire burned low. Lyra stirred awake, her markings glowing faintly. She felt the weight of danger pressing down. She whispered, They are close again. I can feel them. The human stood, tightening his grip on his weapon, his face calm but firm. Then tonight, we end this. Lyra rose slowly, fear in her chest, but not the same fear as before. This time she carried her name, she carried trust, she carried the bond they had built. Still, her voice shook. If they take me, they will kill you. "They won't take you," he said firmly, his eyes locked on hers, "because I won't let them, because you are not theirs." Before she could answer, the walls shook with footsteps. Shadows moved at the tunnel entrance, lights flashing, weapons raised. The hunters had found them. "Give us the girl," one voice shouted, echoing in the chamber. "Step aside, human. She is cursed. She belongs to us." The human stepped forward, blocking the way, his voice carrying like steel. "She belongs to no one." The hunters moved in, weapons firing. The chamber exploded with sparks and light. The human fired back, his shots sharp, forcing them to scatter. Lyra pressed against the wall, her heart racing, her markings glowing brighter with every burst of fear. "Control it," she whispered to herself, shaking. "Don't let it take me." But the glow only grew stronger, wrapping her arms, her chest, her face, until she lit the chamber like a living star. The hunters saw it and roared. "That power, it is hers. Capture her before it destroys us all." Lyra gasped, collapsing to her knees, the light spilling from her skin. "I can't stop it. I can't." The human dropped to her side, his HFY, and gripping hers, his voice fierce. "You don't have to stop it. You have to guide it, Lyra. It's not your curse. It's you." Her eyes locked on his, her tears glowing in the light. "But what if I hurt you?" "You won't," he said, steady as stone. "Because I trust you." Something inside her broke and rebuilt at those words. Her glow shifted, no longer wild but steady, flowing through her markings like rivers of fire. The chamber walls lit up, the old carvings awakening. The hunters froze, blinded by the radiance. Lyra rose to her feet, her voice no longer weak. "I am not cursed," she cried, the sound shaking the walls. "I am not dirty. I am Lyra." The hunters staggered back, fear in their eyes, their weapons shaking. They had called her untouchable, but now she was untouchable in a different way, not from filth, but from power. The human stood beside her, his weapon ready, but his eyes on her, proud, certain. "Show them," he whispered. Lyra lifted her hands, the light bursting forward, not as fire, not as destruction, but as force. A wave of energy pushing the hunters back, sending them sprawling, their weapons clattering to the ground. The chamber shook, dust falling from the ceiling, but Lyra stood tall, her body glowing like a beacon. The hunters scrambled, fear breaking them. "She is not cursed. She is chosen," one whispered, terror in his voice. "We cannot control her." One by one they fled, their footsteps fading, leaving silence behind. Lyra swayed, the glow fading, her body weak. She collapsed forward, but the human caught her, holding her close. "You did it," he whispered, his arms steady around her. "You showed them." Her voice was faint, trembling. "But I am so tired. I cannot stand." "Then rest," he said gently, lifting her in his arms, carrying her out of the chamber, through the tunnels, until they found their shelter again. He laid her down on the blanket, pulling the other over her. She looked at him, her eyes heavy, her voice breaking. "You should leave me now, before others come, before I bring you more danger." The human shook his head, his hand brushing her hair back. "I told you, I will never leave you." She wept again, weak but freer than ever before. "All my life no one touched me. No one gave me a name. No one gave me a place. But you gave me all three. And I will give you more," he said softly. "Not because you are useful, not because of your glow, but because you are Lyra." Her tears shone like silver, her lips trembling into a fragile smile. "Then where do I belong?" she asked in a whisper. He pulled the blanket tighter around her, his voice steady and warm. "Here, with me, in my shelter, in my arms, in my bed, not as a slave, not as a curse, but as family." Her heart broke open, filled with something she had never known. She pressed her forehead against his chest, whispering, "I was too dirty to touch, but now I am home." The human held her close, his arms strong, his voice soft. "Yes, you are home." The night grew quiet again, the hunters gone, the danger fading for now, and in the ruins of a broken world, two lives once shattered had become whole. The girl who had been abandoned, who had been called cursed, had found a bath, a name, and a place in his bed, and in that place she was no longer untouchable, she was Lyra, and she was finally free.